Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ring Diaries, a show about marriage. We're going to talk about everything and anything about marriage right here on Family TV every Wednesday at 9 p.m. If you're in a country like I am, you find that many marriages are struggling. You find the rate of divorce is so high and people are living miserable lives. And this has caused us to think, what can we do about marriages? So what we're doing as Family TV is going to bring you real people discussing real issues and being able to share their real experiences with you, our real audience, about marriages. Are you married? Are you about to get married? Tune in every Wednesday, 9 p.m. and come, let's discuss about marriage. And with our first show, we're going to discuss about the beginning of marriage. Unlike everything else, marriage is the only place where you start with a certificate. And in this certificate comes an opportunity for you to share the vows between husband and wife. So today we're here to discuss the vows. What are the vows? For those who said the vows, those who are married, do you remember the vows that you said? Did you mean them? Were you just repeating after the reverend or the priest at the time? What are these vows? And to get into this discussion today, I am joined by two amazing people, each representing a different couple. First, we have Sam Kisakye Salongo, who's been married for 8 years. Yes. And next to Sam, we have Grace Onapa, who's been married for 7 years.
Yes.
Yes, and they're going to tell us about the vows they made 7 years ago and 8 years ago. Are they actually still keeping their vows? We'll be able to get into that as we get into the show. But as we begin, I just wanted to ask Grace, what was the one thing that made you smile on your wedding? Like you entered and just lit up.
Oh my God. My wedding. The moment I stepped at that step in front of All Saints Church and I saw my husband just right up there, I knew it was done because this is what I have been waiting for, I don't know, for so many years. And I was like, yes, I am actually doing this. I am actually getting married.
So you saw him and you just
I just
lit
saw him
up.
and everything just,
You didn't care whether there was food at the reception.
no.
It was
For
just...
those that know me, I didn't care what happened on my wedding. I didn't care how the girls were dressed. I didn't care what kind of cake we had. All I cared about was my church.
church.
Yes. And I think I remember after church, everything else just went on as it was.
You didn't care.
I was just satisfied with my church.
Your church.
Yes.
And seeing your husband. I
And
think for the
seeing
sake of
my
our viewers, just introduce your husband, your name, and tell us who your husband is.
I am Grace Onapa, married to Peter Joseph Onapa. And we've been married for 7 years. We have 3 children as of now.
As of now,
Yeah.
I like that. Salongo Kisakye, what is the one thing that made you excited? Okay, I don't know if men get excited on their weddings like we do, but what excited you about your wedding?
Thank you, Fiona. My wedding excitement is I don't know if it's the right word. I was a bit anxious.
Oh.
I was anxious. I had been waiting for this day. How will it turn out? And I think I have a little bit of perfectionism in me, so I was wondering, how will things go? So I remember when my wife walked in, I said, okay, this is happening. Of course, I came in first with my best man, and I always say it was one of the longest walks of my life from the behind to the front. But for me, the thing that I remember vividly after the church, just in front of the stage, and the pastor said, these are the new couples, and after saying husband, this is now husband and wife, and I was standing right there with my wife.
And you were the husband.
Finally, this is my wife. She's now mine. This thing is over.
It is finished.
I was happy. I was happy.
Wow, interesting. You've taken me back to my wedding, and oh dear. Anyway, beautiful memories.
Yeah.
You please introduce your wife so that as we have this discussion,
Yeah.
they know who you're representing today.
My wife is called Daphne Kisakye. We are going to make 8 years next month.
Wow.
So we are excited.
Excited.
Yeah.
That is interesting. So these vows, you made vows, right?
Absolutely.
And Grace, what stood out? Like, what of those vows stood out for you?
To love and to hold.
To love and to hold. And Sam?
Well, for me, the entire vows, really, the fact that I was making some kind of commitment in front of people, being bold and saying that I, Samuel Kisakye, I am taking on this lady, that was bold for me. Because I don't remember having stood in front of people. I had done it a bit in school and also taking
Swearing
things,
ceremony,
yes. But those were about my commitment to work for periods of time. But this one is a commitment to life. And I was like, okay, this is something I'm taking on. So the whole vow session, of course, the details are quite interesting, but the entire session for me was the thing, because I was taking on someone's wife forever, someone's daughter forever.
Forever.
Yes.
And I think that is the one thing that is interesting about these vows. Whatever you're saying, it is forever. So one has to get down into the vows and want to look at them line by line. And I want us, these amazing people, to tell us what these mean to them. So for starters, you say, I, Sam, as you said, I, Sam Kisakye, take you, Daphne, to be my lawfully wedded wife. First of all, look at the part of I take you. What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, firstly, the vows are a representation of a commitment. Before I even get into the details of the vows, the entire vow means something.
Yeah.
That's why I would not. It's a representation of a commitment, because as human beings we change, we
Yes.
evolve. What my interests were 10 years ago are not necessarily my interests right
No,
now. Things have
definitely.
changed. So the vows are a reminder of my commitment. When I was born, I didn't have any commitment to my family. But somehow I end up being committed to them. And sometimes we get into families and people remind you, that is your brother. You need to treat, they are reminding you. But here you're making a public declaration of a commitment to someone for the rest of your life.
When you're very sober.
When you are sober, you have not been coerced, you have not been, you are sane.
And in front of many.
And that is why God insists that we have to do it in front of witnesses. Otherwise, I can just get you and you go somewhere and say, let's do our vows and move forward. And there are those young people who do petty commitments to themselves. I'll love you until Lake Victoria dries.
Yes.
I'll love you until those things. But no one is there to witness that. So
Is
when
that why Lake Victoria dries up?
and these days it is drying up. So, but you have to taking on the vows in public is a public declaration that, look here, it's like baptism. It's saying I am making a decision in front of everyone to take this person. So 10 years later, 20 years later, when my interests change, when my life has changed, I could be the president of some country, 20 years later, I am still going to be held accountable based on these vows which I made in front of people.
Yeah.
So that comes to me first. Then of course, I'm going to get into the details, like you said, lawfully. And I think we shared this earlier, that the vows need to be hinged on something.
Okay.
Then I think we'll discuss this later about writing our own vows. But if they are they hinged on the law, or are they hinged on biblical principles? Otherwise, everyone could have their own vows.
Yes.
That is why we start with lawfully, because the marriage institution, especially in Uganda, is governed by law.
Yes.
So you can't just say, I'm going to marry you, Daphne, for 2 years, and that's it.
That's it. That's how long I can stand.
That is, based on when I calculate myself, this is how long I can stand this commitment. The law in Uganda doesn't allow that. So that's why now you see we're starting with lawfully. We have to, this is under the confines of the law. And the law now dictates even how the marriage should be done, where it should be done, and how should we even live this marriage.
And who can do the marriage.
And who can do the marriage. Yes, that's very important, because also people end up forgetting that. So Lawfully, yes. That for me at that point, I said, okay, this is legal. Now I'm
So it brings in
entering.
a legal aspect.
Yes, a binding, legally binding document or legally binding
Contract.
engagement.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm trying to avoid that
The word
contract because
I
it may be
noticed.
contentious. Yes.
Yes. So it is lawfully. So Grace, this brings me a little back. When you said your vows,
Yes.
did you actually understand what they meant?
I think I did understand what they meant because, as I told you before, I looked forward to this day and I took my time as I said these vows out. I take you, Peter, to be my lawfully wedded husband, to love and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer. You get to read it slowly. Actually took my time saying out my vows.
Not just repeating
Not
after
just
the reverend.
repeating after that. I didn't repeat. I had my book and I read these things myself. So I meant or I felt every bit of line that I actually said that day. And I think it has helped me in my 7 years of marriage that I don't want to call it a script that I am looking at,
Yeah.
but I have a clear line that I'm following.
You have at least
yes,
you have
I have
guidance.
guidelines
Yes.
of yes, my husband is sick. I'm not just going to up because it's not my responsibility, but it is in my head. I signed up to look after this gentleman, to take care of him. It doesn't matter the situation.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. But now, many times we hear people say, I'm here those vows. I was only repeating what the Reverend told me. Do you think it is? I think this brings us to what some had said. Do you think we should be writing our own vows, or we should go with the scripted vows that are there?
I think we should be guided. The mistake that I have seen when people say, I didn't say these vows, I repeated after a reverend, is because we have not been taught to understand what marriage actually is.
Okay.
And that is why most people are coming into this thing as a ceremony. And church is not anything they're thinking about. All we are thinking about is what is at the reception, what kind of decor that I have, the gown that I'm putting on. And yet, this is the most important session.
Yes.
I will credit All Saints Cathedral because they took us into a whole session of counseling. And I remember Reverend Diana was like, in the first week, if you're not ready for this, it is okay to say the marriage is off. And we had couples walk out.
Okay.
We had couples walk out and they're like, no, I think this is not for me. But we are missing that bit because we are being so desperate to get married.
Yes.
So we are not thinking through actually what we are saying or what we are entering into. That's why someone will wake up in the morning and say, I didn't mean what I said. Someone just read it out for me.
And I was repeating after them.
And I think the church should also change this. People should actually read out their vows.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it is written or scripted, so that they know exactly what they are talking about.
Okay.
Yes.
And Sam, do you think we should... There are things that were in the vows that I thought maybe I wish I could have added my own thing and say, I vowed that you will come home early. Don't you think there's something some people would want to add there? Wouldn't it be a good idea to have our own vows?
I think it's an interesting idea. I like what she says, that we need to be guided. Marriage, especially in the Christian background, is hinged on biblical principles.
Yes, it is.
And biblical principles, or the Bible, does not change. It is consistent.
Yes.
So when you are writing your vows, what are you basing your additionals on? Is it based on the feelings you feel at that moment? Oh, I love this guy.
Yes.
I'll do all these sweet things. Or are you being writing them based on already existing principles? So the challenge with writing them without guidance, without hinging them, because if you're hinging them on the word of God, some of these things will not make sense.
Yes.
Because what does the Bible say about this? So that's why I think there's a bit of a contention when you write, because then you would say, like the common thing, for richer and for richer.
Yes.
Why should I be subjected to poverty, really?
Why
Or why
should
should I be subjected to sickness? If you're sick, please call your family to take care of you. I signed up
I
for
like
good life.
that.
I have struggled enough. I'm not going to suffer. However, the Bible has a different view. So now, as you're writing, yes, we appreciate, but you must hinge what you're writing on the Word of God. That way, we can be able to, because the Word of God is consistent.
Yes, it
But
is.
your feelings, they can't be sure.
Can change.
Yes,
They
they can't
change
be
actually,
sure.
not even
Change.
can't.
They will
They
change.
change a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So back to our vows. These vows that we so beautifully made and said, and now for at least the two of you, you read yourself. So not
Yes.
saying we repeated after everyone. So I've said to have and to hold from this day forward. Grace, what does that mean? To have and to hold.
You are mine. I have you in my hands, and I don't see you getting out. I am going to hold on to you. I am going to cherish you. I am going to enjoy you with the comfort that I'm not maybe waiting for someone to come and take you away from me in a given scenario.
You are mine.
You are mine. I am having you to myself. Let me call it selfish, but I'm having you to myself. Yes.
Beautiful. And Sam, to have and to hold. When you talk about holding, actually the picture that came to my mind is a baby. When you're
Yes.
saying that, I'm imagining a one day baby, like you've been given a baby, and how you would treasure and nurture this little baby. That is how we should actually nurture spouses. Like from that day, you hold them and have them. That's interesting. Do you think these vows should be made only once? I think we should be having a repeat.
I think that is why I've noticed when people are making anniversaries, they actually repeat the vows. I've seen it on like 4 different occasions. And even if it's not a whole party and
Ceremony,
everything,
yes.
yes, I've seen it in a church. They'll come up and say, we want to redo our vows. And they don't have to buy new rings. They've actually used their
Very similar.
very same rings and they've said the vows again. And I think it would make sense.
But okay, I understand that. But what I'm thinking is, shouldn't we be repeating these vows like every day as a constant reminder that you know what, Sam, you remember? Do you think we should have them more often?
I think, firstly, I want to also say that whoever says that these are not my vows, it was the Reverend, you're hiding under something.
Yeah.
I've had some people who keep saying, by the way, I didn't even love you. I was just forced to marry you. Those are stories. Those are weak people, weak men. Because as a strong man, you are thinking, even if you would ask me, when you're signing up for the offices these days of power, member of parliament, someone reads for you.
Yes.
But you think about these vows, they even tell you about them in counseling, they even allow you to read them. So that excuse is a weak excuse and should not be used by any sane person. You just want to run away from your responsibility and your commitment. In fact, that is a sign of lack of commitment.
So you're looking for a loophole.
You're looking for something to how can I jump out of this thing? The Reverend read them for me. But back to the question about consistently talking about the vows. My view of the vows is that they help the individual. If I begin to remind you that, by the way, Phiona, don't forget you made these vows. Do you remember what you did? I'm now holding you. It's like I'm holding you accountable to a contract you made. You don't love me enough to actually hold yourself
Remind
accountable.
No, but I'm looking at like every anniversary. Maybe I tell you,
Well,
Sam,
that's
I
fine.
take you. Like I renew those vows as and when it's actually.
I think that should be perfect because, like I was saying, the vows are for me as an individual to remind myself. Sometimes when I'm not feeling the relationship, I need to remind myself. When I get into the turbulent times that the vows promised, I need to remind myself, oh, by the way, I took a vow. These are for myself. But definitely on good days and bad days, you need to recite them. It's like watching your wedding video. I don't know when you last watched yours, but I've always been trying to get my wife to watch ours again because it reminds you that, by the way,
I was
there was a time
Why
when
am
you
I
were
rewatching?
no, you need to check on yourself and say, by the way, there was a time when I was all butterflies for you, when I was trying to get married to you so badly.
When I
so
saw you and I
so I need to
cried.
watch these things and see some people are very emotional. So we need to ask you, what were you thinking of that? Why were you crying? So it's good for you to check on yourself. But also when you do that, you can actually remind yourself and say, okay, I actually said these things. I mean them. I love you every day. I'm committed to you only every day. Because that's what you said 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and 20 years ago. If you don't say them, or if you live oblivious of them, then you're just running away from the truth.
Okay, then we get into the big words. For better, for worse. Like really, can it just be for better? Does it have to be for worse?
But this is life. This is life, and we do not think it will be a straight line. However much we want it to be a straight line, it can never be a straight line. So that's why the worst has to be there. When we are born, we expect a day we will die.
Yes.
The Bible wouldn't have put death in our way, it would have been living. So at the back of your mind, you know, at a certain point, however much you don't want to think about it, I am
Worst
going to
comes.
die. So I'm into this relationship not for bliss. That's why they keep on telling us it's not a bed of roses. Roses have thorns. The thorns will be there. So I need to be ready to know how to deal with these thorns. When I get pricked, am I going to run away?
You cut off the thorns.
I will have to find a way of cutting off the thorns and
Yeah.
fitting into this relationship and making it work. So I think it's a guideline of when I'm enjoying the better days, when the bad days come, I'm not going to run away. I am actually going to handle the bad days. So it gives you a way of movement,
Yeah.
per se. Yes.
Okay. Some for worse. For better, for worse.
I've seen some interesting brides who say for better
For better.
and for better.
Yeah.
But back to the word of God, which is our hinge. The Bible tells us that when you go through the fire, when you go through trying times, it is an issue of when, not if. These things are coming.
Yes.
As long as you're alive, they are coming. So you need to prepare yourself. That's why we have for better or for worse. So that when the worst comes, you remind yourself that, by the way, this was my commitment. If you're living out of the normal life, acting like they won't come, you're not human. People get sick. People die. Life happens. No one knew that we would have an earthquake in Turkey. But those things happen. What happens when things like that happen? So it's just the normal way life happens. So it's good for you to be reminded that it's not going to be all bliss. Although I think it's good to actually be excited about bliss. It's nice.
Excited about bliss, but
Yes.
still know that there are times that
Cannot
that bliss
be
cannot
bliss.
be all the time.
Yes. Even roses have thorns.
They have thorns.
Yes.
Until you just cut them off and stay with the roses. And I know most of us just want to stay with the rosy parts, but as we've been told, it is not all rosy. There's always the thorns that come in. We say I do, and we constantly say I do, I do, I do. But those who have said I do we still do? Here we're discussing I do, the vows that we said. Are you still doing, by the way? As a married, you need to ask yourself, are you still doing, or you just said I do and walked away? Before we left, Sam was telling us about for better, for worse, how they are managing. And I want us to go to something that is a bit elaborate, and I need them to tell us for richer, for poor. Sam, for richer. Daphne signed up for richer, for poor. What does that mean to you?
Again, like I said before, the Bible tells us that when you go through difficult times, the Lord will be with you. When you go through the fire, I will be with you.
Yes.
So this is an issue of when. It is not an issue of if. So even the vows that are hinged on the word of God know that these times are coming. Normally, we always laugh about it, but in Africa, we are living on edge. Something is about to happen. Your grandmother's roof may fall off. They're going to call you, someone has died. Difficult situations will happen. You lose a job. COVID has taught us. You could plan a very good, interesting business idea, and things don't go as planned. So those things are coming. So it's important for you to sign up knowing that you're going to do life with this person, even when those good times happen.
Okay.
And normally we encourage couples that the purpose for marriage is to do life with your friend, companionship, someone that you go home to and tell you good things. This happened. I got a promotion. I got a deal. I got a contract signed. Those are the things that you look forward to. But also when you're crying, when things are tough, you go home to someone and say, look here, I'm struggling in this. I was fired. Or we'd be going through a restructure. Things are not going on as planned in my business. This is someone you're supposed to talk to.
Yeah.
Imagine this person doesn't sign up for that. And they say, my friend, if things are going on wrong, this is not what I signed up for. So, yes, it's important for us to know that we are living a true life. And we always tell people in our trainings that in Africa, most of us are living below the poverty line. But the rest of us are one catastrophe away from going below the poverty line. So
Just
you need
one.
just one.
Oh,
It could
dear.
be a disaster, a famine, too much rain, anything. So we need to sign up for marriage knowing that this wonderful, great farmer you are marrying could have a catastrophe
And
and
everything.
lose everything. What will happen?
Okay. Grace, is there an instance where you've been tested in this regard, for richer, for poorer?
Actually, I was tested, let me call it, in my first year of marriage. When we were organizing our wedding, I think a few months to the D-Day. Yeah, a few months to the D-Day, my husband lost his job.
Wow.
And I remember talking to my mother-in-law, and she tells me, Grace, we are not moving backwards. We are going forward with this.
Wow.
And I told her, yes, mommy, this is going to work. She told me, yes, the wedding is going to happen. Don't worry. I think at the moment, her worry was the wedding per se. But me, my head had
Gone
gone
beyond
the wedding.
How do you survive?
And we moved, I think, for like 2 years. And my husband didn't have a job. I am so sorry for saying this on air, Mr. Peter. But he did not have a job. But out there, no one would know that he doesn't have a job. Because if I'm to go to work, we would ride together. And he would keep himself busy. He knows how much I earn. He would choose to plan for it, or we sit and plan for it. If he has probably a wedding to contribute to, and we'll tell you, yeah, so-and-so is getting married, we need to give this. And I am actually comfortable with it.
So, Grace, a young girl going to get married.
Yeah.
I'm looking at changing 4 times if I'm a girl of today and you're losing your job. Like, they're not tallying up. How did you manage? Because I understand there should have been some fears.
I will go back to the aspect of love. I got married because I loved this man. And I knew whatever comes along the way, I believed we would actually walk it.
Okay.
He is my friend. When we got married, I think we had been friends. We've been friends for 14 years. That's joining even the marriage years. So we had been friends, and I knew the person I was actually getting married to.
Okay.
And I knew if we get to this table and we're like, Grace, this is it, I wouldn't maybe get a hiccup or get scared, because we had started doing life together. So for some reason, I knew we would figure something out.
As long as you were together.
Yes, and we actually did.
And you
we
did.
figured life out. And people can't tell. If I'm telling you now that 2 years down the road he didn't have a job, people out there didn't know he didn't have a job, because his life didn't change. He lived his life as it was, even when he had a job. So
Wow.
I think, to me, I would say it was love.
It was love.
Yes, because we go back to the first vow to love and to hold.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm holding you regardless.
Regardless of what is happening.
Amazing, amazing. That is very beautiful. And I hope all the young people out there and all the married people there can pick a leaf. Support your person, whether it is with luck or with plenty. Let us enjoy it all together. And then in sickness and in health. Now, this is an interesting one. I was sharing with people that COVID came and COVID hit all of us.
Yes.
I remember COVID hit, at least when it hit my family, we had gone for burial in Bushenyi and I noticed everyone fell sick. So we come back, and for me, I didn't fall sick. So we come back home, and I'm like, but if this one, all the people around me were sick, what are the chances that I'm not, even without symptoms?
Yes.
So I get home and I tell my husband, you know what? I'm not going to actually share a bed with you. I am not sure until tomorrow I go and test. Now, if it is in sickness and in health, okay, long story short, I test, I'm positive, and I had to quarantine a bit.
Yes.
So if it is in sickness and in health, why aren't we sharing a bed and we die together? I thought it's sickness and in health, not so. So COVID, how would we have managed? Because we vowed.
But I would think sickness and in health, in this sense, meant I am not going to throw you away because you are sick.
But if we're not sharing beds anymore, aren't you throwing me away?
No, I'm looking after you. Unless if you mean when you separated rooms, he didn't actually look after you.
You're looking after me. I don't know, Sam. What's your view? You're looking after me, yes.
I think,
why are we not in the same bed?
I think for me, marriage is even more than just being in the same bed.
Mm-hmm,
It is more of both of us love each other so much that we want our family to survive.
Yeah.
Or we die together.
So if we die together, our children, our things won't survive. But also, if we are both sick, we have a lower chance of survival.
Yes.
If one person is able to help the other, then there's a higher chance that both of us actually will survive. So I think that if your husband is out there taking care of you and we're masking up and saying, please stay there, I'll bring for you food, he wants you to survive.
Yes.
But you won't both have the same opportunity if both of you are sick. You won't have someone who cares for you deeply, who will do everything possible to make sure you survive.
Fine,
so I think that, and I think it's also good for you to say, I love you enough to, please stay alive. Please stay out of the room. I want you to survive. Okay, if I'm to die, let me not take you as well.
I thought we die together.
No, that is not love.
That is not love. Yes, true. But what other instance, because COVID is a recent one, what other instances have we been tested via this vow in sickness and in health?
Well, for me, I've not really talked about health so much. The closest I have, like you mentioned, is being a salongo. So we've had a time when my wife was expecting the twins. And of course, as a married couple, there are things you do together, especially the consummation. I need to make sure I'm cautious of the language I use. But for a period of time, I think close to 1 year, we're not able to do that because of the series of things that a pregnant woman has to go through, especially if it's a risky pregnancy. So that time was quite a testing one for me because before I got married, I was a very big supporter of abstinence. So really, when I got married, there was no way I was going to jump back into the same thing. But life happens, and you have to be very understanding to your spouse. This is not her doing, and you also want her to be fine. So you want to be understanding. And I noticed that some men during that time find solutions outside. That is not being committed to your partner. Because no one goes out there to be sick or to be in a vulnerable position. So you have to, and I think that was one of the times that was closest to me for in non-straight health times. But it was tough, I'll tell you. But I survived, as you can see. I'm alive. Nothing happened to me. I didn't die. In fact, that's when I realized, hey, you can actually survive. But but I was there with her. We walked the journey together until we went over it.
So it is these vows are very important because they actually relate, like they're
Yes.
relatable.
Their life, yeah.
These are things that we actually deal with day to day. Okay, until death do us part. There's someone said that this clause is a bit contentious because if it is only death that will do us apart, I'll find a way of killing you and we get over with it if things get tough. So this part about death do us part. There's a lot of talk right now and a lot of Christians that I've seen actually divorce.
Yes.
They get out of it. What is our take on that?
As Grace, I would think until death do us part, it won't make us run to divorce. Because the only condition that I have to leave my husband is death. So I'm imagining myself trying to actually make this marriage work. We have so many avenues. At least try counseling, try talking to other couples, try talking to each other. Go back to yourself and you're like, what went wrong? Before I rush to divorce. If we didn't have this clause, I don't think we would have as many marriages as we have now.
Definitely.
Because so many people would just opt to
leave.
That's why our white friends decide to do a contract base. Of if things are not working out,
I get out.
let me just get out. And yet, it would be just a tiny little thing. We get arguments. We might argue about buying a plot of land in Makindye versus Kawempe. And because of that, it becomes a very huge problem. And they're like, no, you do your thing, I do my thing. But because you have something binding and you just can't up and walk, you will have to actually sit and think about it.
And wait for death.
You don't wait for death per se. And I wouldn't, in this line, I wouldn't support violent marriages. But it gives you a way of moving.
Yes.
A way of moving. You don't just up and go.
And I also think some things are easy to go through when you know, actually, I have no way out.
Yes.
This is the person I have, so we need to make things work.
Yes.
I don't know, Sam, what is your view about that?
Well, just to emphasize what you said, when you are a student going to do exams, all of us don't want to do exams, but you know that I have to go through this.
Yes.
So once you know that there is no turning back, I am into this thing, you're going to make it work. But also, if the relationship is waiting for death, that relationship has already died.
It has really died.
It needs another treatment. That you can't wait for death, because if you're waiting for death, then you may even orchestrate that death. So it's more important for you to work on the relationship and say, how do we make it survive, or how do we amicably resolve it so we don't get to the death part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I will love and honor you all the days of my life. Oh my God. I will love and honor you all the days of my life. Do we love and honor our spouses every day of our lives? So
Well, yes, and I think there's a very big aspect on that one, where the vow says, I'll love and honor you, but also they say, I'll stick to only you, leaving everyone else.
yes.
And for me, that is honor. When you choose to maintain one wife, that is honor. When you choose to listen to the needs of your spouse, that is honor. There are times you won't agree as a wife,
definitely.
but as the Bible tells us, a man is the head of the family. You have to submit to him. That is honor. Where there are times you won't feel like loving on your wife, calling her and telling her, how are you doing? How was your day? I hope you're feeling, I apologize. I offended you, because you as a man, really, apologies come from very far. But you have to honor. So that is a commitment you're making. And also the issue of love. Love is a very big definition. What is love? The way you receive love is different from how you receive love.
Yes.
So sometimes it is easy for us to try and replay or repress that word. Try to give out love to someone. The way we think, my wife is one of wonderful gems in this world. She didn't love flowers. but she loves chocolate.
Yes.
So if I see Mr. Mbowa bring for you flowers, it doesn't mean I should also take my wife flowers.
Flowers.
I need to understand how she is loved.
Yes.
Then I bring for her what she loves. That is the true definition of love. So when I make the commitment in the vows that I am going to love and honor you, that means I'm committing to daily learn what. And do you know that even our love languages change?
Yes, they do.
20 years ago, you could say, me, I just want to be held. But when you grow, you realize that money is important and being held is a very small aspect of it. So you have to commit to say, I will love.
I will learn you.
I will learn you. I will make sure that every day I live my life to love you, to learn how to love you, and make sure that you're actually enjoying this relationship. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sam and Grace. And I think it's interesting the conversation we're having. And I want to ask Grace, if I've made these vows but I've not lived by them, is it the end for me?
I would think you're living a lie. You're living a lie, and you actually do not know what you went into. You do not know what you signed up for. Marriage is about love. If you do not love, you cannot be married.
Yes.
You cannot be married because love covers a multitude of so many
sins,
things.
Yes.
Your husband will do all the craziest things he can do. But when he comes back and looks at you and you're like, but I love this man. I'll give an example of our children. We've seen parents with children who are drug addicts.
Yes.
Parents with children that have just lost it. But they will not deny these children.
Yes.
It's like, this is my child. This parent will move heaven on earth to find solution for this child. I think that is what should be in marriage. You cannot be married and not have love. Those two just cannot be apart.
Okay.
So if you do not have love, then I think all these vows don't make any meaning or don't make any sense.
So Sam, if those vows have lost meaning, is it the end for me?
No.
Is there a way that these vows can be renewed if they have been messed up?
I think so. Like my sister said, you have to have love. And for me, love is not just a word or a mushy feeling. Love is a commitment. And we always joke about it and say, when you are loving someone, you have to use either your heart or your brain. Both have to work. Some days I'm going to feel like, oh, I love my wife. She's so beautiful. I love to hold her. Some days I'm not going to feel like that, but I still love her. I am committed to loving her day and night. And some days she might really annoy me, but I'm still committed to her. So the vows are a commitment you're making to your wife. And if you are not living by them, you're dropping on your commitment. So it's important. Commitment is a sign of love. I am committed to you. And so if you have failed on your vows, please pick them up. You can start again. And you know that we have people who have, political leaders especially, who have committed themselves to serve and they have not. That shows that they don't care about us. So even in the relationship, that's the best way of showing commitment is loving your spouse. And if you fail on your family commitment, then you can't do anything better than that. So I encourage people who have dropped their vows, maybe life happened. It's possible to pick them up and say, look here, I erred or I veered off, but it's possible to start again and say, let me read these vows again for you. I'm committing myself to you to walk by the vows. It's possible. It's possible to start again.
But I think we should also go back and ask ourselves, or people who are intending to get married should ask themselves, why are we getting married? Because if you have that answer, then I believe you have the solutions for everything else that will come. If I get married because he has money, or he comes from a prominent family, or he looks good, what if he gets an accident and loses his limbs, or his face is deformed? What happens thereafter? We should know why we are getting married.
Yes.
I think that should be the first thing. Because if I know why I got married, as I walk the journey down the lane, I I will have to rectify a certain corner because I know why I got married.
Yes.
If I loved this man and things are not just working out, I will have to sit down and I'm like, what happened? We loved each other. We are friends. Why is it not coming out? Why is it not working? But if the intentions were probably not straight, then maybe that's why we call it quits at a certain point. But the main question should be, why are we getting married?
Okay, so once you know why you're getting married, you're able to keep there.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Grace and Sam. And as we conclude, I just want each of you to give your parting shot to the person that is seeing you right now on Ring Diaries. What should they do? Maybe they're preparing to make these vows. What is your advice to them?
My advice would be, marriage is a beautiful thing, but we shouldn't rush into it. You should know why you're getting married.
True.
You should know why you're taking this path. You should know why you're committing to this man. Because as we read through the vows, there is worse, there is poor, there is sickness. Am I ready to walk the poor, the sick, the bad health, all the mishaps that will come along the way? So we shouldn't just get excited about the very big, beautiful gown, the function, the public opinion, because these days people are getting married because everyone wants you to get married.
Yes.
That shouldn't be the issue. Our question is, why am I getting married? Do I want to get married? And will I work towards this marriage, not just getting married?
Thank you very much, Grace. And Sam, to those that are married, what is your parting shot?
Thank you, Fiona. For me, I want to encourage everyone to follow through with their vows. Marriage is about love, and one of the ways that you can show your partner that you love them is by consistently committing to your vows.
Very true.
I'll tell you that it's easy to follow through with the vows if you love your partner. It's easy to be consistent and committed to them because you love them. It's like your parent. When you are with your mother, you want to do every good thing for them because you love them. So even your spouse, it's easy to be with them, to love and hold through difficult situations and good things because you love them. And also, I think marriage is not only thorns and difficult and poor.
Yes.
I think you can choose to have a beautiful marriage, to enjoy it, to have a wonderful time, and minimize on the poorer and the sickness part. Let's enjoy it as much as we can have it. Yeah.
You've heard it from these people. Remember, in marriage, there is no expert. All we are doing is sharing our experience. Thank you very much, Sam Kisakye and Grace Onapa, for a wonderful deliberation. And I hope you have learned something. Remember, before you say I do, mean what you do. And once you say I do, please keep doing. Thank you very much. This is Ring Diaries, and I'm Phiona Mbowa.